All right, let's get rid of that, which is stuck. Oh, well, damn it. Anyway, we've got something on the screen that won't go away. Good morning, everybody. Well, good afternoon, I should say. Oh, look at that little thing came saying I was live. Welcome to... We got the sun, but everyone thinks...
There's a breeze.
There's a breeze coming, and usually it happens around this time of year. It gets a little breezy up here, and it comes off the sea.
And the surfers love it, mate.
The surfers love it, right? Yeah. Right. I'm not loving it so much as you can see. I'm kind of rugged up and the sun's out today. But, well, how was your weekend?
Wow. Tommy Saturday, went to Brisbane, went to the filming studio.
Oh, yeah, you're in the studio on Saturday.
All day in the studio,
right,
putting a video series together.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic. Great team.
Okay.
It was really great. So, next couple of weeks, the video series should be out.
Right.
Men's health and wellbeing.
Okay.
Going out on a few different platforms.
Okay.
My own platform and a few others.
Right.
And just smashed it. Walked in the studio.
Yep.
Set the scene. Got the cameras happening.
Yep.
Did a bit of a trial run. And then went bang, done, bang, sit down, recorded,
right.
Got the skipping ropes out, got some exercise happening,
okay.
Some didgeridoo.
Right.
But yeah, cracked it. I came away really pleased.
Okay.
Yeah, cracked it in 5 or 6 hours.
Jeez, we had a big week last week all up. I mean, we did the big day here for all day on
huge on
Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, we knocked out 12 videos content-wise.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you're checking these guys out first. So you're running point on that for when we put our 12 series, 12 episode series together on physiology, eating, moving, sleeping, and then the
psychology, and
emotional, mental, and spiritual. Right.
Yeah. And that's going to be an amazing.
That is going to be
ton of content.
Yeah. Right. Specific for the corporate world and execs and their teams. Yeah. And talking about that, today's topic.
Wow. Well, today's going to be a big one, Tommy, because there's a lot going on the planet right now, isn't it?
There is.
And there's
just a little bit going on.
There's a 4-lettered word.
That
starts with F.
The F word.
And it's not the one you might be thinking of. No. Fear. So fear's a huge one, isn't it? Because fear comes in so many different packages. There's global fear, community fear, internal fear.
Yeah.
Imagined fear, real fear.
Well, I mean, it's all imagined, isn't it?
Yeah. And right now, the epidemic of fear on the planet.
Yeah. The epidemic was a result of the pandemic. Sorry. Whoops.
Freudian slip.
Yeah. Oh damn. Yeah. We'll just make it onto mainstream media.
But that fear, like right now, fear of losing one's job.
Right.
Fear of losing the business.
Right.
Fear of the disease. Fear of the virus.
Yeah.
Fear of what people may think if you have a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Fear of speaking one's truth.
Right.
Fear of expressing a different opinion.
Yeah.
Etc. Etc.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah. Fear of loss of freedom.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fear, and if we bring that back to the business corporate space, from that fear perspective of what has been a fear-based business, and how that fear is being rampant in the corporate business space.
Yep.
The fear of not making sales at the end of the week.
Yeah.
To the fear of what the CEO upstairs might be saying.
Yep.
Fear of losing one's job because you didn't get your KPIs in for a month.
Jeez.
All that fear.
There's a lot you could really be worried about and scared about, right?
And you were in that space for a long time.
Yep.
How
in the fear space?
Yeah. So my question
I was in the corporate world for a time.
So my question to you, Tommy, is to give some example of your own space.
Yep.
I in reflection now, in hindsight now, you've probably got a slightly different view because you're not in it anymore. You have more of an objective view.
Yep.
How much of that fear was rampant in you running in that space?
Well, look, I mean, once again, this depends on your interpretation and your perspective as well, right?
So in hindsight perspective.
In hindsight, looking back, look, there was. I mean, there was a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah.
So, and I think in everybody's mind, there was always that aspect at some stage, for varying degrees and varying time. The fear of you lose your job, and it's not just the cash flow and money, but then certain people may hold on to the pride. Certain people are holding on to their identity being their job, and that is sad.
That's a big fear.
That is totally sad.
I may lose my identity.
I may lose my identity. I don't exist if I don't have my job, and of course, you know, we could go and speculate on, you know, how that all came about somehow, that we developed that, we were programmed and conditioned into
The
that.
story.
Right, the story.
Yeah, yeah.
The story. And it starts when you're a kid and you're going to school, and, you know, everybody's gets their marching orders to, you know, take out half your brain, you know, not use half of it, you know, and let's get the left side programmed right up. But it's there's fear of that. There's fear of you're not worthy as a human being unless, and therefore that is your only contribution is the paycheck. All of those things. And yeah, where does it come from? I mean, that's a whole different topic we can go into, but yeah, it existed, and it did for me, and it actually never felt right, to be honest. It just didn't, you know, and I'd start to master how to play the game of the corporate world, right? Was it satisfying me from a heart-centered point of view? I could say F no, right? Fear no, right? It's the four-letter word. And then that's why then I had to gather up enough courage to leave when I did, and I was pulled by certain things at a certain time, and you know, then there were different fears that I had to deal with, right? Starting up a business, the time it takes, how much is that going to, you know, the negative word would be cost versus how much do I have to invest in this? How long will the investment curve be for?
Fear of failure.
You know, fear of failure. You know, for a certain amount of time, fear of judgment. But fortunately, I don't really care too much about you know, being judged.
You don't give a fear anymore.
I don't give a fear about fear. That sort of fear, right? Never really did actually, and that I think was my saving grace. I really didn't give a shit. You know.
What other people think of me is no concern of mine.
Exactly.
I'm a bit last next time.
Look, and I paid the price for that too in my corporate career. You know, and so then I would be seen as the maverick. You know, the one that
now everybody wants to be the maverick.
Now everybody wants to be the maverick, right? And there's a lot of mavericism going on right now because we have this polarization happening in society right now, right? And the idea is to try and bring this together, but leaders. True leaders will be breaking from the pack if they're going to have any serious impact.
So, Tommy, a question for you. In terms of that leadership, because you and I are all about leadership, and what we're trying to do is encourage alchemical change. We're trying to get leaders to change in that space. Because if the leaders don't change, nothing changes. We know that.
Exactly.
You know, it's not the people under the leaders that need to change first. It's the leaders that need to change first, so they can lead the others to change.
Exactly.
That's always been humanity like that.
Right.
So, what are some of the things from your perspective of what leaders can do? You know, whether CEO leadership, management, middle management leadership, staff leadership. What can be brought into play around that fear base to take that fear out to evoke some true leadership without fear?
Well, okay. First, we start with fears in your head. Right. So it's not here yet. It's not the thing that you're worried about. Hasn't happened, right? And so how do you then put that into perspective? Because physiologically, they'll start kicking off biochemicals that are going to put you in that fight or flight type phase. And I mean, and that's always there in the corporate world. That cortisol drip is constantly happening. Drip through the HPA, right? The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, they call it. That's what they say. It's actually giving us heart attacks. And I've heard it quoted, 50% of the time. You know, sure, the eating and the moving and the sleeping, getting that right. But then you go to the mind. Half the time, your mind is giving you a cardiac arrest. Literally, it's giving you stress, right? And so the leader will be able to manage that better than the average leader.
So how are they going to manage it?
Right. So this is then starting to manage your thoughts. Right. Now, when your body has been so programmed automatically to remember certain situations subconsciously, and sometimes consciously you'll feed it in, or it'll come up from somewhere else, right, in the back of your head, in your subconscious. There's a feeling that comes in, and it'll be from your mind and its reticular activation system constantly scanning, right? Really,
scanning for the danger.
For the danger, right? So because it wants to survive. And when the heat is on, you know, when the pressure's on, there's more temptation to go down that route. And so the body starts to go into that panic mode. You start to feel it. You know, some of us have been very good at putting it in the box, thinking we're being heroes, right? And you can put it away for a certain amount of time, but unless you learn to rewire your brain in a way that will start to vision a different picture that you can project, right? It's going to negatively affect you. It's going to affect your health, and that ripple effect of the leadership. If you're in a leadership role, responsibility, that's going to ripple effect through your people as well. They're going to see it. They're going to feel it, right? You know, and sometimes you've got to be vulnerable, have enough courage. So this is where courage starts to come in.
Well, courage is the only antidote to fear.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you don't feel fear. It's just that your courage and actions related to your courage need to be, your courage needs to be bigger than your fear.
That's it. That's the one.
And then you're moving, right? So then you start to make those moves.
And I think you said it there, you know, courage is action.
It is.
You know, courage is movement. Courage is
Right.
in the limbs.
Yeah.
It's about moving forward. It's
Right.
about taking action.
Because what's happened is you're held to the dock. There's something that's in your head.
You know, fear is freeze.
Yeah.
It's like frozen with fear. I mean, you know, that's the language.
And you coalesce,
Yeah.
right? It's like, and you do nothing. I mean, we see a lot of that happening at the moment while the world is waking up, just in a broader sense.
Yeah.
You know, some disturbing things are happening down in the state of Victoria right now
just-
over the weekend,
Mate,
right?
don't even get me
They go
started.
there?
Don't,
Me
because
too. Both of us will fire up.
some of the I saw fear in people's faces from some of the footage I saw over the weekend.
Yeah.
From what's happening down in Victoria, particularly Victoria markets on the weekend.
Victoria markets of all places.
There were people shopping, doing their shopping,
Right.
and the fear in their faces
Right.
for what they experienced with the policemen. You know, I don't know the full story, so I'm a bit cautious of sharing too much.
Yeah.
But the fact that people are fearful by going to a farmer's market,
They could probably only afford to go to a farmer's
Yeah,
market too, right?
and it's like, why do people have to live in fear to go shopping?
Yeah, that's, you know, when you
Got to start to question what's really going on and why
Right.
fear is being instilled.
yeah
You know, because if people are using force, it causes fear.
Yep.
And the people instilling the force know it's bringing fear. So the
Right.
question is, why are they instilling fear?
when you know, and there is the big stories as to what's driving that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we don't know that are going on right now.
There's always something
There's
going
always
on.
something going on.
What we
And
know,
it's well above Andrews as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He's just a puppet on a string.
Yeah.
Right. So there's
He might be
things that are going
he
on.
might be in fear himself. You know, like
I got
something
to tell you, I wouldn't want his job right
No,
now.
no.
And even after he's gone, you know, he's no longer in that job.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, I wouldn't like to be Dan Andrews.
Where to next?
Yeah. How do you walk the street after this stuff? How do you walk the street knowing what impact decisions that you have made will have? So when you're talking about leadership, you've
that's
really
one.
got to dig in.
Yeah, this one. You know,
Right.
What does he do in terms of his leadership, in terms of that fear? Does he step up and say, "I'm just going to follow the norm. I'm going to follow the pattern. I'm going to do as I'm told"?
Yeah.
Or at that point, you say, "Something's not right here."
Yeah.
And finding the courage to speak.
And that is not data,
Yeah.
because you take someone like Andrews, right? And he goes, well, the data says, whether he's being honest or not, right? It gets to a stage where who gives a what the data thinks? Time to be a leader, sunshine.
For
Right.
humanity.
For
Humanitarian
humanity.
leader.
No, well, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm using data for that. No. Sorry, this is my belief, and I'll be, you know, I'm very happy to be held accountable to this, and I don't always get it right. But the intent is that where does that true leadership come from, and knowing what's right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's not in the brain, right? It's actually from here, because the heart knows, and the mind thinks, right? So it's really damn simple. But a lot of us have forgotten how to do that, or we're programmed so far away from knowing what your heart is saying.
I suppose it depends, Tommy, doesn't it, what program we're locked into.
What program we're locked into.
And that's the question.
From being brought up, you know, as a child.
Fear-based program. Education is a fear-based program.
Yeah. We know where the education system came from.
If you don't pass your exams, you don't get a job. That's a fear-based system straight away.
Or always have the fallback. The fallback plan.
Yeah.
You're like, get the fallback.
Plan B.
You know, yeah. I mean, we could be entering an era where the fallbacks are disappearing very quickly, right?
What are the fallbacks is the question,
Well, it's a job, just over broke, I think they call it. You know, I'm not saying that. So, yeah, I think with what we're seeing and the massive amount of change leading through that right now is a challenge, because the leader has to overcome their fear first, right, to be able to lead effectively.
So, Tommy, to do that for the people watching and listening in, and because I know, we do get viewers who are in that leadership role. They are in that space, with a team or a small team or a big team, or leading a company, leading through management, leading through being a thought leader. What are some of the practical things they can do today to support them to break some of those fears?
Right. So, I think setting the example and communication is where it probably happens first, right? And that's going to be regular communication and keeping in touch with the people that you're responsible for, right? Because you got to be the first one onto that battleground and the last one off. It's a great movie by Mel Gibson. I can't remember the name of it now. Where he says that. I'll be the first one on. I'll be the last one off. Right. And that was true leadership to me. And being prepared to take a bullet for your people. Now, I can tell you, I'm in the corporate world, I'm prepared to do that. Right? Now, I had to face a few guns in my head, over the years, and I'm sure many have.
You would have done that.
I did.
Mr. Maverick.
And all they needed to do was just try and leverage that button, and it wasn't going to work for them. I went the opposite. And I thought, oh, you're pointing the gun at me, are you? You better be ready to use it, sunshine. So, it's
a bit like being a street fighter, mate. Someone's going to pull a knife.
It's like
they better use it in 10 seconds, otherwise.
It's going to be all like you better be ready. Because you're gonna either way, you're going to pay the price. Okay, I'm on all the tough talk right now, but I got to say, it fires up the Spartan in me.
Oh, me too, mate.
If it's wrong, then it's like.
But that's the warrior, isn't it?
It is the warrior.
Courageous warrior.
It is.
And sometimes in that corporate business space, not talking about warrior in terms of going around, back,
comply,
stabbing, people in the
back. That's pretty weak.
But the warrior, they're standing up and speaking one's truth and finding that courage. Overcoming that fear.
It
takes courage.
I've done that in the boardroom a couple of times. Where I've taken a what would be considered to be a political risk, and being maybe unpopular with my boss, and did or said some things that were, I wouldn't use the word unsavory, but and a couple of other people in the room, I've been pretty blatant. When I've caught it, and everybody else is sort of thinking it.
Called the devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate, somewhat. All the elephants in the room. I'm thinking, what are we doing here? It's like, are we all hypnotized or in a trance? Am I the only one that sees this?
Or the only one that has the courage to speak it? Because I think everybody feels it. People know the elephant's in the room. And I'm the same. I'll call it. I've just been in a lot of trouble through my life of calling the elephant in the room.
Calling it out.
Being
the truth.
Being the one that's a little
bit
bit
punk. Right? But look, the truth always rises up to the surface. And I think not only in the boardrooms right now, but planetarily, there is truth that's starting to bubble through. And it's making a lot of people that had control of the game for so long feel very uncomfortable right now. So there's a lot of fear on that side. I can guarantee.
Well, when people start losing ground, the fear will pop in, because from the people in that control, like if you have a business and you've been controlling it from a fear-based place for 30 years, and all the staff are in fear and every competitors are in fear, and you start to lose that grip, then the fear gets reversed back on oneself,
right?
And that's then double fear.
No, exactly. And it starts to multiply, and we're seeing this now in Victoria. Right. You can see the tactic would be, I wouldn't call it a strategy. It's so obviously blatant to take what did the Bush call it? A preemptive attack. Right. To show a lot of brutal force in the beginning. To incite fear. You're not allowed to incite a demonstration, a peaceful one, but you can incite fear if you're part of the regulator. And to say, don't even think about this, don't even think about doing this, because this is what will happen to you. Right? Now, all the people need to do is to join collectively, because last time I checked, that government and that police force were kind of elected, although the police was actually separate from government, from what I understand, but which actually puts them at risk. But yeah, it's like.
Are you talking about the police service or the police force?
Well, a bit lovely, terrific, right?
Don't get me wrong, I know some amazing policemen. Like I've been working with police for
same as the medical industry, some fantastic doctors have their heart in the right place and the right intent.
But sadly, when one's in a system where the leaders use force and you have a JOB and you're a policeman, you can. It's really hard to say no.
It is, and because this is the thing we're talking about. Corporates too, right?
You lose the job.
You lose the job.
The fear of the one that steps up and says, you're having a meeting. Okay, guys, we're going down to the Vic markets this today. This is the plan. We're going to force our way through. We're going to push our way through. And for one or two to step up and say this is not right, that's hard.
Well, that's the bullying thing, right?
That's hard.
Yeah, one or two. You really got to go against the grain. You got to go against the populace.
Some have, some do.
Yeah,
and we've seen it in America, in Canada, in Germany, where the policemen have taken off their helmets. And the
French have thrown the guns on the ground.
Yeah.
They're not doing this.
That's hard.
That's courage.
That's courage.
Where's the courage of our guys, our police force in Victoria? I haven't seen any yet.
I want to see that, Tommy.
I haven't seen
any. I reckon if you did a survey around the world of what's the safest, most democratic and free country on the planet, I reckon Australia come up pretty high on most people's agenda.
Used to.
Yeah.
Right.
And probably still does, because people aren't seeing the truth.
Well, yeah, we're starting to see it now.
Yeah. Even mainstream media is starting to push this. Some of the recent films.
It gets eyeballs.
Yeah, some of the recent films. People now are in their vehicles with their dash cams. And they're filming incidents of police being brutal. And yet on the other side, I saw this beautiful job. I got to share it. There was a demonstration in Brisbane a couple of weekends ago. One of the men leading it, he was plugging all the amps, and this Brisbane policeman, probably early 60s, one of the old cops, let's say, had some civil liberty about him, had some understanding of the community. He walked up to one of the organisers and said, "I'm just letting you know that you possibly could be charged later on for what you're doing."
Right.
Because by plugging in the mic system, it means you're compliant to a demonstration is actually deemed illegal. So I'm just letting you know. Right. I'm not charging you right now, but I'm letting you know this could happen.
Right.
And then he walked away. And it was like, that's policing.
That's policing.
That's community policing. Letting somebody know if you continue. Just letting you know.
Right.
It's a bit of a warning.
Right.
So you have a choice.
Yep.
And just letting you know, you may be charged. Not saying you will, but I'm going to go back home to the office and check the law. Just to,
Right. So
what a great human being.
Yeah.
What a great policeman human being who, our generation, having a conversation, wasn't putting in fear and threat. That's policing. That's community policing.
That is. I mean, you've got this brute force being used. I don't even hear if there were anything actually communicated to.
Instilling fear.
Instilling fear. That's what it's about. And it's not enforcement as much as there's a bigger picture plan that's going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt, right? And this happened in the corporate world as well. When you get into the politics of it and so on, some could understand joining the dots. Others just saw what was happening at the end and didn't want to be part of. They didn't know, or they were just scared for their own jobs and because they've been leveraged into, I'm going to pay the bills for this, and this. So there's control and compliance of the whole system. But if you're in the corporate world and you're leading, you have that same situation in a microcosm. And so it's going to take courage. True leaders, right, take that unpopular risk and not up here. They're going to use it to go, okay, what could be the impact of certain decisions? But the intent is coming from the heart of what the right thing is to do, from the soul, right? Do the right thing. And it's so damn simple, Adrian. It's just do the right thing, and everybody knows what the right thing is, right?
And that could be a slow undoing to me. That's something that maybe can't be done overnight.
True.
But it could be started. The process can be started.
So the communication, as I said, sort of with your people,
Yeah.
right? Because you've got to. They're looking up to you,
Yeah. Looking for leadership.
right? They're looking for leadership, and then so you got to set the example, and so then it becomes communication with those that are in the higher level leadership roles, right?
So how does that start, Tony? Like,
Yeah.
this
This
is where it gets sticky and tricky.
Yeah, it does.
How do we get that motion moving?
Right.
Because that's the sticky point. Is like, here's the old paradigm, and I'm stuck. I'm frozen in fear. I'm frozen in my leadership style. Everything's going right around me. Everything's falling to pieces, and I'm holding on, to everything I know.
Yeah.
But it's breaking away.
Yeah.
So how do I shift? How do I move? Is the question people are probably asking, consciously and subconsciously. It's like, so where's that tipping point?
Yeah.
Before it gets into that dangerous space of losing everything. Yeah. Because that's the danger of losing everything.
There is. There's a huge amount of tension in the system right now, right? And the great thing about tension is it happens to be what happens before great change comes along.
It does,
And we're seeing that on a planetary scale right now. There is so much tension that's building in the system. Something's going to give.
Yeah, like it's, I think
we've never seen it before, right?
People relate this back to the 1930s. Yeah. So we're talking nearly 100 years of the Great Depression. Like in America, where a lot of people lost their work, lost their jobs, lost their homes. Whole cities were just queues and queues and queues of tens of thousands of people, queuing up to survive. Getting their tokens. And some people ran with that and made money out of it, and they embraced it. And some people did it unethically, but many did it. A lot of people did some great ethical things and got businesses and corporations and things going, and cooperatives going. People's movements were happening, and that was real leadership. And that took some courage.
It takes courage. It takes courage. You've got to go against the grain, but you've got to give it every chance and opportunity to bring it together and to unify, right? And that starts with communication. And I think, you've got to look behind people's positions and interests. Now, if those interests are discovered to be not honourable interests, and once again, you will know, then you've got a decision to make. Right? Like all the decisions you made in the sales funnel and business and, business risk and whatever else. I mean, we're talking about stuff that's a lot bigger right now. This is when it really takes what makes a man or woman leader in being true to themselves. Once again, but to take a step forward, you've got to make that decision. And the first thing is also to make sure that those that you're responsible for, being somewhat vulnerable, being open, stating what it is that you believe, and saying, this is what I believe, this is where I think things need to go, this is the reason why. And so, while I'm a leader, this is where we're headed.
And that could be around, I'm just thinking, something you and I laughed at last week is one of the great ads we saw with one of those big supermarkets where, a male and a woman actor was stuffing a big white bread roll with, I think they call them sausages, in the middle with some tomato sauce on the top. Didn't even have onions on it. And this was promoting food.
Nutrition.
Toxic waste. And I'm going to put that food in the bucket. Right. And imagine somebody coming along and saying, we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to poison people anymore.
Oh my God.
We're actually going to take a courageous stance.
Poisonous food is illegal.
And we're going to make a stance in this supermarket to only sell good, healthy food to our customers. That will be an amazing, courageous step. But to put that into play, to get the cogs moving, what's it going to take from the very onset? It's going to take a conversation. In the boardroom.
It's a conversation, and you've really got to find out as I said, get behind the position people are taking. This is just basic, negotiation 101. Find out what the interests are.
Right?
And you're finding out, really what you're doing is you're finding out the truth behind what is the driver.
The money.
Right?
And
in most cases, it's money,
it's money.
at the end
Shareholders,
of the day.
the shareholders.
Right? And so it's a greed aspect. And so all of a sudden, people are not part of the equation, in that. And that's when it's wrong. It's really simple. That's when it's totally wrong. And you know, what is so disappointing, and this is my personal, humble, one person only opinion, is that
Probably two. I might agree with it. I may agree.
Oh my God! Okay,
I'm going to see what you say.
take a leadership position on this one.
See what you say.
Take a personal risk. Is that it really becomes worrying when the truth has become illegal,
Yeah.
right? Something's wrong when the truth is illegal. Now people say, "Well, that's your truth." Your truth. I don't know. I think there's an obvious truth, and then there's a truth that maybe not so obvious, but kind of people know.
It's a bit like my daily meditation I've been doing for 20 years, Tommy. It's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Right.
You know, it's been my meditation for 20 years.
Yeah.
I do that every day.
Digging through your own bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, when your head's getting too much, too hedonistic.
So my truth, community truth, and global truth.
Yeah.
That's why I see those three levels. So it's like, there's the truth, then there's the whole truth, then there's nothing but the truth. And, you know, I've been meditating on that for 20 years, and like, you know, could probably write a thesis on it.
Right.
Because of the levels of truth.
Yeah.
Internal truth, external truth, global truth, political truth.
Right.
You know,
it kind of moves the ego aside too, doesn't it?
So when we get into that space of truth and understanding the truth from a deeper perspective, and making decisions based on truth.
Right.
But we have to find the truth first, don't we?
We do, and it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
You know, because people
Yes and no. It is on one level.
Yeah. Right.
When it's the truth.
Yeah.
But then we get to the whole truth.
Right.
And we get collective truths.
Collective
So
truth.
then we get to that point where it's nothing but the truth.
Right.
Like it's just like there is nothing else but.
So if I go back to the boardroom, when does collective truth become this problem that we've had?
When everybody's in agreement.
Well, yeah, they call it groupthink.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What do you think? Oh, yeah. Right. This groupthink. Everybody switch up their brains, or they're hiding.
Yeah.
You know.
But when everybody's on a level playing field and everybody finds that truth, then you hit that truth.
Right.
You know, the truth, nothing but the truth.
Right.
Yeah. Comes to the next stage up. But you have to get that collective happening.
You got to get the collective
It's
or the
just
majority, and then we start looking at democracy and things like that.
But,
right?
Yeah, but it's got to be democratic.
You think we've got democracy happening down in Victoria right now?
Of course.
Yeah. I think it's another F word down there, isn't it?
Oh, mate. Just don't even get. Don't get me going. Don't get me going.
Don't get you going.
I'm revved up, mate. I'm revved up.
Yeah, we both are.
Really
right?
revved up.
Because it's just so right.
I was disturbed.
It is disturbing.
I was disturbed.
And it's simply wrong.
Yeah, simply
It's
wrong.
that simple.
Yeah.
Something is broken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is where the system doesn't work.
No.
Right? This is where it doesn't work, and it's being exploited.
Yeah. And how do we, how do we get there? It's one question. Right. But how do we get
out of it?
Is the
right?
next question.
You know, this is the whole thing
it's
of this
leadership.
podcast.
And you know what that leadership was for me? It's the police commissioners.
Yeah.
It's the politicians.
Yeah.
It's those who are above those people that made that call to do that.
Oh, they're all hiding. They're all hiding.
To come out and say this is wrong.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop it.
Where is the true
Where's
leader?
the Prime Minister?
Where is the true leader in this? Not Dan Andrews. It's just a puppet.
But,
right?
but even where's the Prime Minister? And
where's the Prime Minister and the federal government?
And saying,
we're getting slightly political here now, but
where are they?
But
where are they saying condemning this behaviour?
Yeah. Absolutely condemning it.
Yeah.
Is this Australia?
Because if they were
Australia?
if they were AFL fans or rugby fans or a motorcycle gang or anything else doing that to the public, be absolutely condemned.
Oh my God!
Those people would be charged.
Oh yeah.
But these
people were shopping in a market.
These people in these Darth Vader suits.
Darth Vader suits, hiding behind the masks
Darth Vader suits
and everything.
Pushing
so
innocent people aside for what?
Yeah. They can't be identified.
Yeah. But for what?
Right.
Who's made that call?
Yeah.
But who's going to uncall it?
Well, who's going to uncall it?
Yeah.
Where is the leader that we hope, and it doesn't take too long, that's going to pop out, right, in this to put Australia back on the right kilter?
Get back on track.
Right. I can't see any leadership at the moment. And you know what? I mean, of course, it'll be some. Oh, yeah, we've got a spectator sport there of Tommy and Adrian. You know, if you had our jobs in government and whatever else. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'd be doing. It would take a situation just simply knowing what's wrong. You can manipulate figures and whatever else as much as you like. It's become so obvious now that the mess that has been created. So there's going to be tension, there's going to be rift, and it's going to get to a point.
We don't mind a bit of tension, mate, do we?
We don't mind it. Jeez, but something's going to break.
Yeah.
And I think the great news is that the truth is going to come out. I think we've got some more pain to go through, to be honest, and I think the world does. I'm no expert. I'm just giving you a personal opinion.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Entitled to it, right? Freedom of speech.
While we still have it.
Right? While we still have it. Yeah, well, that ain't going away.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk, but, there's going to be a price to pay for a certain amount of time, I think. That taking the leadership to call it as you see it without having a hidden negative agenda, a self-interest agenda. And that's the problem. That's where we got separated out. Whereas if we unify to look after each other, I think that's what's going to bring a higher level of awareness, and leaders are going to have to pop out and take personal risk in going forward.
It is a risk, like it's a risk of losing everything.
Well, there's always that risk.
Risk of not doing.
The safe job and everything else. I mean, it's all a state of mind. And so it's when the crazy ones, like you and me, Adrian, that would be Maverick. Someone is going to pop out somewhere that's going to be one of those unsung heroes that no one ever expected. That's going to pop out to be a leader.
And we've had them all through humanity,
right?
We've had them all through humanity. Some amazing leaders. Nelson Mandela's like probably my all-time favourite.
Right.
Maverick. And going. Before
Top
that,
Gun, he was a Maverick. He
He
was a Maverick, right?
But if we
look what happened. He broke the rules.
Yeah.
He broke the rules that were there. And
But if we go and follow the Christian faith, I mean, Jesus or Jesus, whatever you want to call it, he was a Maverick.
He was a Maverick.
Paid
the ultimate price, and they do. We were talking about it last week. The guys that started up Bitcoin. Anybody that started up, no. And I think Gandhi's got some saying. I don't know it off by heart, but he's sort of saying that they won't agree with you, and they'll ridicule you, and they'll fight you, and then they'll eventually support you.
Yeah. You got to go through.
Right. You got to go through all the crap.
I remember, David Icke isn't the most loved man on the planet from something. Some spectators think he's crazy. I've actually spent a lot of time in David's company in Sydney, watching him on stage for hours and hours, and I've been following him for well over a decade.
Right.
And I think some of his things that he says, they don't resonate, but a lot does.
Yep.
And what I love about him, he says, we've got to break through the fear.
Yeah.
You've got to keep speaking.
All of these guys are saying this.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying. And that the biggest problem we have right now from a physiological health point is fear that's being incited in people around the world. That's what's going to switch on the wrong genes in the body. It's going to physiologically put a lot of stress in the system.
Straight in the gut, usually.
Because you can only be in that fight and flight phase for so long before it really, starts to create diseases way bigger than COVID. The biggest thing with COVID is you've got this thing, it's this big, the ripple effect that has been amplified by it in fear, thanks to mainstream media and those that have other interests around, there's a lot of the vaccine debate and everything else right now. That's what's having the big health effect.
It's huge.
Way more than the actual impact we're getting from the COVID thing.
Well, there's 0.05% of the population, or less. I mean,
they're actually dying from it.
Yeah.
And I got trolled over this, because 6% are dying from it alone.
Yeah.
But then it's, it's because of the comorbidities. And I said, well, fine, then if we're going to open it out to comorbidities, let's also go and get the flu and everything else and put it on the same level playing field. Yeah. Let's see how much of a big impact that has.
So here's a great stat, and I love this one.
Yeah.
So last year, 580 cases of flu in Victoria.
Right.
Yeah. About
when was this? This was
last year, right? About 580 cases.
Deaths, or was that
flu deaths? Yeah.
Right, flu deaths. Right.
So far, 800 deaths of COVID.
Yeah. Right.
And 24 flu.
Right. So this is where it gets interesting, right?
So if you had 24 flu, 580.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to about 800 COVID.
Right.
There's
provided.
Yeah.
Right. Because all of a sudden, my
So
God,
the
the
flu.
flu's gone.
Yeah, flu's gone. So
Right.
how does that?
Oh, we just renamed it.
Yeah.
Did we just rename it? Did we just recategorize it? But you're saying, okay, then there's 800 580, so there's that 220 or whatever anomaly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's have a look at that.
Yeah.
So let's say the flu was 580, it stayed flat, 580 deaths
Yeah.
because of flu.
And it does vary.
Which is
some
right.
flu seasons are bad.
Some are bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We saw it 2018 in the US. They had this spike of flu, right? They called it flu then.
Yeah.
So you take that, leaves you 220. So let's say we had flat 580 flu deaths, leaving 220 left on this thing that's called COVID. And so then we're looking at, okay, that's what you're saying. That's saying how many died from COVID. But okay, was that COVID or was it a comorbidity that actually caused that? Because when you die of the flu,
Do they die from COVID or with
right,
COVID?
right, or
No.
with COVID. Is that how we counted the numbers with the flu, by the way?
No, yeah.
Right, number one. Number two, now, how accurate is the testing that's actually going on?
But there's a lot of controversy on that.
Right,
A lot
right.
of controversy.
Okay, so let's go put a big question mark on that one. I mean, I'm reducing it to the ridiculous here,
Yeah.
right?
But we have
Obviously,
to, don't we? Isn't that?
We do.
But isn't that?
I'm trying to critically think this thing through.
But every scientific test,
right,
this is the formula.
right,
You take it back to the
yeah,
point of ridiculousness,
right,
almost,
right,
to prove the theory.
right,
Always in scientific theory,
Yep.
you have to prove it from every angle and every point.
right. So I would have thought
You have to do the
leadership.
tests.
So I would have thought leadership is going to take this sort of approach.
Yeah.
You don't hear it much on the mainstream. The other person you'll hear is, obviously those that have taken the polarized view that's developing from, the conspiracy theorists and whatever else. A bunch of
Not only that. I'm gonna name this Sky News.
Sky News. Sky News. Alan Jones. Mr. Volt and Paul, what's his name? Right. Very interesting.
Yeah. I've spoken to a few people this week who've gone, I can't believe I'm watching Sky News.
Yeah.
Me being one of them.
Me too. I never used to watch Sky News.
Not that I probably only watch it for once a fortnight or once a week because somebody says to me, actually I don't watch it live, I watch it via YouTube because somebody's posted it on social media.
Yeah.
That's usually my take because it's specifically to a targeted topic.
Right.
So I don't watch. I can't watch the whole Sky News.
Right.
That's
some of it gets a bit, but I gotta say, Alan Jones has been, in my opinion, on the money. He's calling the view, right? The other view there.
Yeah.
So,
which is important in debate, isn't it?
Right. It is. I mean, he's bringing
It's
up.
called the democratic debate, I think.
Last time I checked.
Yeah, I think Socrates called that in several thousand years ago.
One of my ancestors somewhere down the line there.
Yeah.
Right? One of all of our ancestors.
Yeah.
So, reducing it to the ridiculous, but it's like, what the hell happened that this snowball of fear grew? So when it comes to leadership, just putting it back into perspective.
Yeah.
And you've got the troops, whether we're talking metaphorically, the troops at work or on the battlefield, I'm sure. You're going to go, whoa. Let's just have a look at this. Let's break this down, guys, and let's put this into perspective. So I think when it comes to
then we can use a bit of left brain rational thinking.
Because what's happening at the moment, you've got a lot of these, as Daniel Goleman would call it, the EQ book, emotional intelligence. You get this emotional hijacking. And so mainstream media plays on this. Anybody who wants to instill fear, what you do is you go and do an emotional hijacking where all of a sudden the kid in the room, the amygdala, takes over, the biochemicals all change,
It's all fear.
and then, and they're gone. And all everybody can see in the mind that's become so damn big, right?
Survive.
And so you've got all this information being pumped out through mainstream or wherever, propaganda. And it's like, oh my God, the world is ending, right? I think the world is actually, for the first time, and I'm going to almost be as controversial to say, thanks to what was a virus, but this hasn't been about a virus. It's been everything else around the virus that has occurred in the world to create so much tension that I think once things break, and that's going to hurt for a lot of us, that the other side of that is going to be the way things should be. I think they're going to fall into that. That's going to be the truth breaking through.
But that's got to be a collective, Tommy.
It's got to be a collective. People have got to come together.
We need collective,
to do that, right?
Global corporate leadership.
Yep.
I'm going to shout that one out. Where's the?
Because the corporates are running the world, in my opinion.
Where's the new brotherhood of corporates? Is the question. Or where are those organisations that are going to come together as a collective and I'm maybe talking of the likes of Richard Branson and some of those big players who have some consciousness.
Where actually has Richard Branson?
Where has some consciousness? Can collectively come together
Corporate
with others, corporate leaders, and say, enough is enough, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to make some changes here.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of respect for Richard Branson's thinking.
Well, he's got the elders, right? Which I think with Mandela, him, who else? These world leaders.
Well, there is. Well, speculatively, I think what I've heard is that he is part of a mastermind group or thought leader group.
Right.
With I've heard is Desmond Tutu.
Right.
And others, and I believe that happens. Fact checker,
right?
For here, but
it's the fact checker for the fact checker.
It's something I've heard on the grapevine that
right.
Richard Branson is part of this small collective of people who come together on his island and on his safari ranch in Africa, and they meet regularly and they talk about economics. It's not quite George Soros invitation.
God.
It's not the Bilderberg Group,
right? Okay.
It's a bit different than the Bilderberg Group.
Would
like to hope.
Yeah, you'd like to think.
Yeah. I'd like to know if anybody has any information on that. I'd love to hear it. Are there collective groups of people in the business corporate space who are meeting with a new consciousness to try and change things? You and I are doing this. If a bit small fry, on the Goldie, a couple of blokes with the camera.
Right.
With a heart, with passion.
Yep.
But to connect with others, to work with others in this space, that's the ideal. Because we can't keep doing it in separate pots, Tommy. We've got to be collective now.
Yeah, and even though the views become polarised, because leadership means you've got to break from the pack, but at the same time, the leader has a responsibility to pull it all together.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're those we're the ones putting the collective together to formulate, the new manifesto for, the new world order, the new world of order.
Yeah.
The new collective.
Well, I think we're going to be. I think we're going to be surprised and shocked at who that's going to be.
Yeah. In my book, somehow I call it the renewed world order.
The renewed world
order. My 2084 book, I'm going to plug.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's called the renewed world order.
Renewed world order,
which is a collective bunch of people who are being democratically voted to be the leaders.
Right, not the new world order as in the Orwellian style.
No,
right.
the renewed world order.
Okay.
Or the renewed world council.
Right.
Of collective people have been put into place democratically to make decisions for the planet.
Right.
We need that.
That all have their heart in the right place.
We need that. So much right now. We need a global council or a global network of people like China, Russia, America, Europe, Australia, of conscious leaders to meet globally. I say it's not the Bilderberg Group because that's a different story.
Right.
To come together and say we are going to take responsibility to lead humanity forward.
Right.
I think that's the hope.
That is the hope.
And that's going to take a lot of courage.
It's going to take a lot of courage. I think it's going to take some more pain. And we feel hurt for our fellow Victorians having to sustain something that is completely unfair. I think the crimes are far. Sorry. This is where the
crimes against Victorians. Crimes against humanity.
Yeah,
crimes against Victorians.
Right. I think the sentence I was going to say is far outweighing the crime right now.
Yeah, but Tommy,
heavy-handedness.
I've got to share this one, mate. There is some relief. Yeah. Victorians are now allowed out for 2 hours a day to exercise.
There we go. It's fixed.
It's fixed.
Right.
Yeah. They've still got to shave 5 minutes.
And they get to stay out an hour later.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, you can go to bed now, girls.
And they can have a barbecue.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to have a barbecue now with, I think, 5 people.
Yeah.
So, mate, for you lucky Victorians.
Everybody to bed and tucked up. I can't. When was that? That happened to me when I was less than 10 years of age.
Yeah,
I think.
Not allowed out on the streets after 8 o'clock.
Right.
First time ever in Australian history, Tommy. Curfews happened. Not even in the war. 8 p.m. curfew.
When was the last time you saw policemen raiding a market where people have gone to buy their goods and their food, and some of them probably can't afford maybe more, or maybe they just want to live healthily?
Yeah.
Right.
Big market. It's an
institution. Big market's an institution.
It's part of the psyche, and
we will look back at these moments and go, "What the hell was that? What the hell were they thinking? What was that all about?" That's what's going to happen.
Hopefully, right? Live in hope.
Look, I don't think we have any choice, actually, Adrian. We don't have any choice. So if you're going to be a leader, and I know we've been jumping around the topic here, and all of this is relevant to the corporate world. It's a microcosm representation of the world.
We've been tight on fear today.
Well, fear for
topic,
sure.
Tight topic.
Just relating it back to the boardroom, or it doesn't have to be the boardroom. It's just a leader, no matter where you are in life. And, obviously, we're talking about the corporate world. It's going to take people's truth and courage to step up as a leader and do just what's right, regardless of the repercussions, the perceptions, the job. Who's got the balls to do that? We're going to see. We're going to see who the real leaders are.
And I'll follow them. Right? I'll be standing by the side of them. I'll be there. I'll be having the conversation.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've had to make decisions in our own personal lives that have hurt.
Totally.
And there's a different thing that drives us to not be part of. We like to adventure, to take risks, to do what's right, and not just comply for comply's sake.
To be popular,
right? To be popular. No,
what you and I are saying right now is not very popular in a lot of circles.
It's not. Oh, look, I mean, I was getting trolled last week on a Facebook post. And I still owe John a reply. Because and my apologies, John. But, I had one there, but just want to make sure that it's interpreted in the best way possible for me to get the intent of my message across. But yeah, it's a tough time, but it's been long overdue, I think, Adrian, and time for leaders to step up. Time for change. It's happening. We're in there right now. We're in it. Well into it.
We're not waiting for it anymore.
Now the leaders are going to shine through. We're going to see leaders shine through.
So the encouragement, the message to wrap up, Tommy, is anybody listening in, watching in, if you have any essence of leadership in you, the question would be, what are you going to do?
Follow your heart.
What are you going to do?
It's knocking on the door.
And share it with us. Have some courage and type it in there. Share it. Give us a call. Have a conversation. Let us know what you're doing. Let us share your message if you want your message shared. That's what this forum is for. This is what the Corporate Alchemist project. So this is a project for humanity.
Yep.
It's not just a Tommy and Adrian project. This is a project for humanity.
Corporate Alchemist project.
When Tommy and I sat and came up with the name of this and we got the project added to it, it was like, this is a project for humanity. This is a project for forever.
It is.
There's not, if you've got a project, there's no end, is it?
Well, corporations have a humongous influence on the world. Dare I say, running the world? Really. And so we thought it was time for the change. We thought it was now, and hence came the Corporate Alchemist project. For those that are willing, those that are ready to step up. And
I've got a pun here.
Take that risk.
For those that are ready to project themselves into leadership.
Project themselves into the alchemist leadership, right? To be the alchemist. To be the alchemist. So, all right.
All right, Tommy, Jude.
That
was a good one.
Oh, they're getting heavier as we go, right?
We're
putting it out there.
We've got to be on point.
We're putting it out there.
Topic.
We're putting it out there.
Got to be on topic.
Right? Calling the elephant in the room. Calling the elephant in the room. And so I'm okay with that. Taking that risk.
Yep. Likewise, mate.
And
if I'm here by myself next week to vice versa, once we dragged off to Victoria,
to the markets. Dare I go and buy anything in the markets of Victoria? Or either of us. All right. So, where can they find you, Mr. Hanks? If they connect with you for any particular reason?
Some abuse, some trolling. Yes. You wanted to go and troll.
Right. Yes. Come and troll Adrian ads.
www.adrianhanks.com.
Right.
Find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Adrian Hanks, Life Mastery Wizard, and come and have a tune in, check in. If you want to read about a positive future, I'm going to plug 2084. Went on Amazon yesterday.
Oi!
So Amazon Global, Amazon Australia. So now available in Kindle as well. So you don't even have to, pick up the.
You're on fire.
Pick up the paper.
Oh my God, you're on fire.
It's on Kindle, and I bought a copy yesterday.
just to test it out. Right, there we go.
So yeah, it's.
You have to get it on Audibles next.
2080. It's coming. 2084. Adrian Hanks.
Right.
On Kindle and Amazon, mate. So,
Fantastic.
I'm going to read about a positive
I've
future.
put biotech exec on Amazon. I wonder how that'd go.
Yeah.
For
How do you
myself,
find you? Yeah.
right, thank you for asking. So for myself, biotechexec.net, and we actually have an executive lifestyle assessment you can do there, which will then enable you to be able to get a 20 or 30 minutes freebie with me. In fact, we'll go longer if we need to, on deciphering your responses and looking at some first steps you can take with optimizing health and wherever we can go from there. Or you can just simply message me, or if you want to trial me, then be my guest. It's the price you pay for.
We'll come and have a coffee with us on the Gold Coast.
yourself, I guess. Yeah, I'll come and have a coffee. I claim to make the best coffee on the Gold Coast. I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap, isn't it?
That's a wrap, mate.
It is. Boom. All right. Have a great weekend in this changing world, folks. Week. Have a great week. Towards the weekend. The weekend's finished.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.